You wake up one morning and check your account balance, and something immediately feels wrong in a quiet and confusing way. You remember how hard you worked all month and how carefully you avoided any big spending decisions that could damage your finances. You tell yourself that you earn enough to live comfortably without constant stress or pressure about money. But somehow, without any clear reason or obvious mistake, your money has almost completely disappeared again. This moment feels strange because nothing dramatic happened, yet everything feels slightly out of control and difficult to explain clearly. You begin to wonder if the problem is deeper than spending, because it keeps happening even when you try to be careful. This is unspoken finance, where money is explained in a simple, emotional, and honest way that reflects real-life experiences. This channel explores personal finance, AI side hustles, and the hidden psychology behind why money feels harder than it should. If you have ever felt confused about where your money goes every single month, then staying here might quietly change how you see your financial life forever. Your days usually begin in a normal and predictable way that feels harmless and routine over time. You check your phone early in the morning and notice a small data subscription renewal that feels necessary and unavoidable. You order food during a busy afternoon because cooking feels stressful and time-consuming after a long day. You pay for transportation without thinking deeply because it feels like a normal part of everyday life. You sometimes buy small things online that make you feel slightly better, even if the feeling does not last very long. Each decision feels small, controlled, and completely justified in the moment, so nothing feels dangerous or excessive at all. At the end of each day, you feel like you did not really spend much money, and that belief quietly becomes your reality. The real problem begins in a place that is almost invisible to your daily awareness and attention. Your money does not disappear in one painful moment that forces you to stop and think carefully. Instead, it slowly slips away through tiny actions that repeat over and over again, without resistance. A forgotten subscription continues charging quietly in the background without reminding you of its existence. A small daily expense repeats itself so often that it becomes part of your lifestyle without question. Then something new enters your life and promises to solve everything, which is usually an exciting AI tool or a new side hustle opportunity. You invest a small amount to begin because it feels like a smart decision for your future growth. Then, you invest a little more to improve your results, and then even more to stay competitive with others. Suddenly, your spending feels productive instead of careless, even though the money is still leaving your account consistently. One day, something shifts in a way that feels uncomfortable and impossible to ignore any longer. You check your account earlier than usual because something inside you feels slightly uneasy and uncertain. What you see does not match what you expected, and that difference creates a quiet sense of panic inside your mind. You expected to have more money left because you believed your spending was under control. Instead, the number feels smaller than it should be, and that realization creates confusion that lingers throughout your day. You begin to question your memory and your habits because nothing obvious explains the gap you're seeing clearly. As time passes, the situation becomes more intense and harder to ignore with each passing week. You start noticing patterns that were always there but never felt important enough to examine closely before. Money leaves your account almost every single day in small and unremarkable amounts that seem harmless individually. These small amounts begin to stack together in a way that creates a much larger impact over time. Your side hustle continues to bring in extra income, but it also introduces new costs that slowly increase your overall spending. You pay for tools, subscriptions, and upgrades that promise better results but rarely deliver immediate returns. You earn more money than before, yet you somehow feel like you have even less control than you did in the past. At some point, the truth begins to reveal itself in a way that feels both simple and deeply uncomfortable. You realize that your problem is not about earning too little money to survive comfortably. Your real problem is that your financial life is filled with small leaks that never stop draining your resources. These leaks are not dramatic or obvious, which is why they have remained invisible for so long. Your brain ignores small losses because they do not feel painful enough to demand attention or change. Spending a small amount feels normal. Spending a slightly larger amount feels acceptable. And over time, these patterns become your reality. You also begin to notice that many of your spending decisions are emotional rather than logical or intentional. You spend to feel better, to reduce stress, or to reward yourself after a difficult day. And those emotions slowly take control of your money. Eventually, everything becomes clear in a single overwhelming realization that changes how you see your situation completely. You understand that your money is not disappearing randomly or mysteriously without reason. It is being taken slowly and consistently by habits that feel harmless but act powerfully over time. You see how every small decision contributes to a larger outcome that you never fully noticed before. You realize that working harder and earning more will not solve this problem if the underlying patterns remain unchanged. The frustration grows because the solution was never about income, even though you believed that for a long time. The most important lesson begins to form when you accept that clarity is more powerful than effort alone. You start to understand that tracking every small expense reveals patterns that were previously hidden from your awareness. You begin to question every subscription and every repeated payment to determine whether it truly adds value to your life. You learn to slow down your spending decisions and create small moments of resistance before money leaves your account. You realize that control does not come from restriction but from awareness and intentional choices. When you change your patterns, you slowly begin to change the direction of your financial life. But then, something surprising appears that most people never expect or fully understand. The more money you begin to earn, the easier it becomes to lose track of where it is going. Increased income creates a false sense of safety that makes you less careful with your decisions. You feel like you can afford more, so you pay less attention to the small details that once mattered. Your lifestyle expands quietly without clear boundaries, and your awareness does not grow at the same pace. This creates a hidden gap between your income and your control, which becomes the real source of your financial stress. You realize that earning more money can actually make the problem worse if your habits remain unchanged and unexamined. In the end, the difference between financial peace and constant confusion becomes painfully clear in a simple and quiet way. Two people can earn the same amount of money and live completely different financial realities based on their awareness and habits. One person pays attention, questions small decisions, and maintains control over their patterns. The other person ignores the details, trusts their feelings, and slowly loses track of everything that matters. The result is not determined by income but by behavior, which makes the truth both simple and difficult to accept. The scariest part is that most people never realize what is happening until years have already passed without progress. If this story feels familiar in a way that is difficult to ignore, then you are already closer to change than you think. Comment the word control if you are ready to see your money clearly and take back your financial direction. Subscribe to Unspoken Finance for more simple and powerful stories about money, AI side hustles, and the hidden psychology behind real financial growth. Sometimes the biggest problem is not how much money you earn, but how quietly it disappears without you ever noticing.